have to think,
LA
Mr. Zeldin,
wildfires.
I think, Mr.
President,
Zeldin,
when I was
if
in San
if
Diego,
your children were
the
drinking
Tijuana
water,
River sewage crisis,
if your
apparently we're
children
going
were
out on our
drinking
own for
water
that.
in Santa Ana, Mr. Zeldin, maybe you wouldn't be so cavalier about whether there was lead in their water. Maybe you would give a damn instead of...
What's going on, patriots? Welcome back to Freedom Voice, where we speak truth, defend liberty, and call out the political theater for what it is. If you're tired of the same old DC drama and desperate fear-mongering, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell.
Recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Master Zeldin, you've only been at the EPA for a few months, but in that time, you've done more to dismantle this agency than probably all of your predecessors put together. That may be a source of pride for you, but it is not for the American people. You've unlawfully terminated grants without justification. You've fired and pushed out some of the best scientists who inform EPA's decision-making. You refuse to spend money that Congress has appropriated to the EPA by law. And you've launched a pro-polluter effort to delete dozens of environmental protections. On top of all this, you've launched an effort to overturn California's Clean Air Act waivers that improve the quality of air breathed by 40 million Californians and by millions more in other states who have adopted California's high standards. That effort, for which my colleagues have decided to eliminate the filibuster to achieve, is not exactly what anyone would call cooperative federalism. But it's your budget that's the ultimate proof of your priorities. You propose cutting America's environmental agency by 55%, meaning that in your view and that of President Trump, more than half of the environmental efforts of the EPA, more than half of the efforts to make sure Americans have clean air and clean water are just a waste. They're just a waste. Meaning that Californians and people all over the country, when they breathe the air, thanks to your good work, it'll mean there's more diesel and more other particulate matter in the air. When they drink a glass of water, they may not be able to see it, but this water that Americans drink is going to have more chemicals like PFAS, forever chemicals in their water. This will be your good work. I want to be very specific about the legacy you're going to leave if you're successful in eliminating half of our efforts to clean our water and our air. Your legacy will be more lung cancer. It'll be more bladder cancer. It'll be more head and neck cancer. It'll be more breast cancer. It'll be more leukemia and pancreatic cancer, more liver cancer, more skin cancer, more kidney cancer, more testicular cancer, more colorectal cancer, more rare cancers of innumerable varieties. That will be your legacy. I don't know that that's a legacy that anyone should want to have. My kids are going to be breathing that air just like yours. My family's going to be drinking the water just like yours. We may not be able to pinpoint just who gets cancer because you've done away with half the budget of those looking out for our clean water and clean air. But it's going to be somebody's kids, it's going to be somebody's family. To put this in more specific terms, there are 22 grants frozen by the EPA focused on improving health and reducing pollution, many of which directly impact children. For example, one project in Santa Ana, California, provided funding to help detect and prevent lead poisoning in children. According to the census, about 10% of the population in Santa Ana are under the age of 9. With a population of about 310,000 people, that means that 31,000 children are at risk of lead poisoning in Santa Ana without this funding. What is it about this grant that you and EPA believe is problematic enough to freeze this funding and put potentially 31,000 children at risk?
Senator, who is the grant applicant?
This is to the city of Santa Ana.
You have the biggest, you have the biggest state, so we're going to have to go through every single list of the grant. By the way, with
um,
that wind up, by the way, I understand that you were an aspiring fiction writer. I see why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand your view that you can cut half of the agency and it won't affect people's health or their water, their air. That, to me, is a big fiction, Mr. Zeldin.
You
And
forgot
and
about the fact of cleaning up
I have
after
to
the
think,
LA
Mr. Zeldin,
wildfires.
I think, Mr.
President
Zeldin,
when I was in San Diego,
if your children were
with the
drinking
Tijuana
water,
River sewage crisis,
if your
apparently we're
children
going
were
out on our
drinking
own for
water
that.
in Santa Ana, Mr. Zeldin, maybe you wouldn't be so cavalier about whether there was lead in their water. Maybe you would give a damn instead of coming in here and suggesting that any grant that takes lead out of the water must be waste, fraud, or abuse because you
gentleman's
need
time has
because
expired.
you
Who said
need
that? The whole
the
thing,
money for a
everything
tax
you
cut
said,
for rich people
your time. It's all
because
make-believe.
you're totally beholden to the oil industry.
The
You could give-
gentleman's
you could
time-
give- You could give a rat's ass about how much
is.
cancer
Because
your agency
you're trying to
causes.
destroy.
The
Impeach,
gentleman's
resist.
time has expired.
Now let's get into it. Adam Schiff, yes, that Adam Schiff, is back at it again. This time he's unloading on Congressman Lee Zeldin for what he calls dismantling the EPA and endangering the environment. Sounds scary, right? Let's take a closer look. Schiff claims Zeldin is out here canceling grants, firing scientists, and proposing budget cuts that will somehow lead to skyrocketing cancer rates. He even brought up lead poisoning in Santa Ana. Now, I don't know about you, but to me that sounds like the usual left-wing script. Panic, blame, and pretend more government spending is the only solution. Let's be real. The EPA has been bloated for years. Layers of bureaucracy, unelected regulators, and overreach into every aspect of American industry and personal life. What Zeldin is doing isn't dismantling the EPA. He's streamlining it. He's asking a basic question. Are these taxpayer-funded programs actually helping, or are they just another way to expand government control? This country was built on freedom and personal responsibility, not on unelected bureaucrats choking small businesses with red tape and regulations that cost billions while delivering little actual benefit. The left wants to use public health as a shield for more control, but we see through it. And let's talk about that comeback from Zeldin. Calling out Schiff for being more of a fiction writer than a policymaker? Perfect. Because Schiff has spent years spinning narratives, from Russia hoaxes to impeachment circuses. So now he's pretending to be Captain Planet. Give me a break. Look, no one is saying kids should be exposed to lead, but let's also not pretend that dumping more federal dollars into poorly managed local programs is the magic fix. If cities like Santa Ana are failing to protect children, maybe we need to ask why local leadership isn't stepping up, instead of blaming someone in Congress for pausing a grant. This whole thing is just another example of the left crying wolf again. They want to control the narrative, control the spending, and ultimately control you. We support clean air and water. Who doesn't? But we also support accountability, limited government, and not turning every issue into a crisis to score political points. So, hats off to Congressman Zeldin for asking tough questions and standing up to the bureaucratic machine. And as for Schiff, maybe he should stick to fiction, because America's tired of his scare tactics. If you love freedom, support common sense, and want to see more videos like this, slam that like button, share this with your fellow patriots, and let's keep fighting for the America we love. Until next time, stay strong, stay free, and God bless the United States of America.